You're listening to GoodMicWork Commentaries, hosted by Greg Morgan, a pro wrestling podcast for adults, discussing the fun, wild, and sometimes insane world of professional wrestling.
What is up? How's everybody doing? GoodMicWork Commentaries back at you with episode 486. Up here to give you a recap of this past Sunday's Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. I'm also going to talk about this past Monday's Monday Night Raw and Tuesday's SmackDown Live, a preview to Fastlane coming up in a couple of weeks, and all of the WrestleMania talk, the controversy surrounding Ronda Rousey, Roman Reigns, John Cena, whether or not the WWE should fire the Road Dogg, what's going on with The Undertaker and Rey Mysterio, and maybe a few thoughts on 205 Live and the Cruiserweight tournament as well. That's pretty much what's in store for us tonight. So I just want to welcome you to this week's episode. I want to thank everybody that tuned in over the weekend for some of my live streams. I was up here reacting to some of the Elimination Chamber. I came up and reacted to the contract signing and the main event. Then I stayed up for a few hours and chatted about the pay-per-view with all of you. I also did a live reaction to Raw on Monday night. I got to tell you, man, it's the only thing getting me through these Raws. I can't watch this shit by myself. I was pretty bummed out about what happened at the Elimination Chamber, so I felt like having some company, and I just want to thank everybody that's been tuning in every week. It's been a lot of fun, and these live streams have been hugely beneficial to my channel. Tons of views, lots of new subs, and hell, I wish I would have had this idea 2 years ago. Here I am this week back with my normal episode, and we're going to talk about everything that we saw on all three of those shows that I mentioned. And I'm probably going to start with the Elimination Chamber, then we'll move into Raw, then we'll move into SmackDown, and then we'll talk about 205 Live at the end. Before we get started here, though, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a reminder. I mentioned last week that my podcast would soon be available on Spotify and Google Play. It looks like I'm up and running on Spotify. A lot of you guys have found me there and followed me and sent me screenshots of you doing so on Twitter. I don't think I'm quite up on Google Play yet, but I should be at any time. So if you use Spotify or you use Google Play, send me a screenshot of it at GoodMicWork and I will be sure to retweet it. And once I'm up on Google Play, you guys can also let me know that, because I personally don't use either one of those apps. So it's kind of just being done to give you guys more options to listen to me. But like I said, in the meantime, still on iTunes, still on Stitcher. You can download this episode on my website, GoodMicWorkCommentaries.com, or you can sit right here on YouTube and watch along. So why don't we jump now into the Elimination Chamber, and I'll just mention a few brief thoughts on the pay-per-view. I thought the pay-per-view was good. It was just horribly predictable, and I sat right here and watched some of it with you guys. I was live tweeting on Sunday, and a lot of people were just not feeling the pay-per-view overall, and I think that's because a lot of these matches really had predictable outcomes, and then the main event was a huge disappointment, especially for me, as a guy who's fallen so hard in love with Braun Strowman. Seeing him lose like that was a tough pill to swallow. But the show opens up with the Women's Elimination Chamber. Now, I had a feeling this was going to happen. Some of us speculated that the women could be the main event, but I thought that they would want to have the two chamber matches as spread out as possible, so I had a feeling the women were going to open up here. And as predicted by many people, Alexa Bliss did wind up retaining in the Elimination Chamber. Not bad. I mean, I am not a fan of the Elimination Chamber. I've said this time and time again. I just don't like the concept. It's so over the top. It's so overdone. The fucking chamber lights up. That's where I draw the line. I mean, they got lights attached to this fucking thing, these LED lights and all these effects, and the chamber looks like a toy. The redesign of the chamber is so ridiculous, and the chamber's original design was ridiculous enough as it was. You know, I do like this one, I guess, a little bit better because it's way more protected. There's padding out there. These wrestlers are not killing themselves for no reason, and I actually support the extra protection and the extra padding just for the health of the, combatants in the ring. But the chamber itself and the match concept itself, I've always hated. I just think that if you give me War Games and Hell in the Cell and matches like that, that's as complicated as you need to get. I don't need all this crazy shit and these lights and these pods and all this crap. It's a way too complicated match concept for me, and it doesn't even make any sense because everybody's like locked in the chamber, but every time somebody gets eliminated, they have to open the door. So people can get in and out of there if they want. I'm surprised they haven't done more on the outside of the ring. You notice in the Hell in the Cell, they always get out there and climb up to the fucking top of it. I don't know how many times we've seen people exit the chamber and fight out there. I'm sure it's happened before. But, just overall, I'm not a fan of the chamber match. But I think the women came through and put together a pretty good match. Better than I expected. And that's one thing I will give all of the women in WWE credit for doing, is that every time they try a new match like this and they bring something new in, Hell in the Cell, Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, whatever, for the most part, the ladies do come through. And I think in the Elimination Chamber, the same can be said there. I think they did the best they were capable of doing, and I thought all the ladies performed just fine. And Alexa Bliss did wind up winning here. I picked Mickie James. I thought WWE might go with a swerve. Everybody in the world was picking Alexa Bliss, so in my predictions video, I figured there was no point to picking her because everybody else was. So I wanted to go out on a limb and try something crazy. I picked Mickie James. Not only did Mickie James not win, but she got eliminated in pretty quick fashion and pretty uneventfully as well. So my pick was way out the window there, and in the end, Alexa Bliss wound up retaining the title in a hell of a performance, and then she kind of swerved us at the end, which I really like. She did an interview in the ring, I think it was with Renee Young after she won, and she started cutting this like emotional promo to the point where she fooled me for a second. I tweeted out, why the hell is Alexa Bliss cutting a babyface promo? What the fuck is going on here? This is getting way too over the top with WWE being so proud of themselves of all of the things that they're letting the ladies do, and now they have heels in there smiling and crying and cutting promos. It was bad enough that all the babyfaces and heels were hugging and crying when Stephanie made the Royal Rumble announcement. Now you have one of your best heels on the mic in the company going out there and crying about accomplishing your dreams and all that bullshit, and then finally at the end she turns on everybody and it was a whole big joke, and she had everybody in the palm of her hands for a second there and then turned on them, and that's why I love Alexa Bliss. I'm growing more and more fond of her every single day. As far as who she's going to face at WrestleMania, that is still up for debate. We had Asuka taking on Nia Jax. There was a stip in that. If Nia Jax won, she would be getting a title shot at WrestleMania, and the seemingly planned match between Asuka and Alexa would become a triple threat. Well, Asuka was able to score a pin on Nia Jax, kind of a quick one there, and Nia got pissed and attacked Asuka, I believe, after the match some more. There was the spear through the barricade spot and all of that, but Asuka does remain undefeated. I predicted that match correctly. I figured you got to leave that streak intact, especially if she's going to go on to WrestleMania to face Charlotte, but WWE sure is dragging this out. And Asuka really didn't do a whole lot on Raw either, which we'll talk about in a minute. So right now, it is still not 100% definite who she is facing, but WWE is making it seem like Asuka will be sticking around on Raw to take on Alexa for the title, but I'm hoping they swerve us at the end, or they're waiting until after Fastlane, which is probably the right call there. There was even some story about there was a women's segment dropped from Monday Night Raw, and it might have had to do with Asuka and her WrestleMania opponent, so maybe they're just waiting for Fastlane to come and go, and then Asuka will make her actual announcement. But still, regardless of everything that's been going on Monday Night Raw, I don't see how you don't do Asuka versus Charlotte. So I'm pretty confident that that match is still going to happen. If it does not, I will be very, very surprised. In an unadvertised match, or at least a match that I wasn't aware of prior to the pay-per-view when I did my predictions, The Bar defeated Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews, or just Apollo now, in a random-ass tag title match on the Elimination Chamber, so nothing really to report there. Matt Hardy did wind up beating Bray Wyatt as well. I predicted that match correctly. I feel like they're just dragging the shit out to do something crazy at WrestleMania, but, I'm almost pretty much uninterested in this feud, which is really sad, because back when Matt was in TNA, a lot of us were literally jerking off at the idea of Matt coming to WWE and doing something with Bray Wyatt. Here we have it in the palm of our hands, and it kind of sucks. So not much to report out of that feud, and I guess they're just going to continue it until WrestleMania. We then had the Ronda Rousey segment, and this was the big contract signing at the Elimination Chamber, and Kurt Angle is out there with Stephanie and Triple H, and they bring out Ronda Rousey, and they let her talk, and it's bad. And I mean bad. Now, I wasn't necessarily expecting Ronda Rousey to be great on the mic because she's brand new. She has absolutely no professional wrestling promo cutting skills at all. And she wasn't going to be good. I was never expecting her to be good. I would just rather have them put her with Paul Heyman right now and let him do the talking, because she can't do it. And it was really, I don't think she understands like the art, I guess, of cutting a wrestling promo. She was talking on the mic as if you would just talk to somebody standing next to you, not as if you're talking in a wrestling promo. There's just a way and a tone you have to have, and she didn't have it. And it was really funny when she finally, rambled on about whatever she was talking about how it was her dream and she really wants this and she's there to work hard and she doesn't want any special treatment. Right when she's about to sign the contract, Stephanie and Triple H are in there kissing her ass, And as soon as she's about to put pen to paper, Kurt Angle randomly speaks up out of nowhere and completely throws Triple H and Stephanie under the bus. And it was so bizarre because it literally came out of nowhere. Kurt Angle is such a goofy bastard. He just cracks me up. And he's like, oh, wait a minute. Didn't Stephanie and Triple H, didn't you guys say that she's a has-been and you just want to get her back for what happened at WrestleMania 31 when she embarrassed you and basically outed Triple H and Stephanie with having ulterior motives here? And they plan to, fuck with Rousey once she signs. And, of course, Rousey takes exception to this. She gets in Stephanie McMahon's face, and then Triple H kind of approaches her. She winds up putting Triple H through a table. Ronda Rousey puts Triple H through a table. Stephanie does exactly what I predicted her to do, and that is slap Ronda Rousey right in the face. I felt that if WWE wanted to get Ronda Rousey over as a babyface, because right now the fans, they're not really accepting her. A lot of people are resenting Ronda Rousey for coming in here. So she's kind of got that Roman Reigns situation going on where she's going to get booed a lot, and she was booed during her promo. So I thought the best way to get Rousey cheered is to have somebody who's hated even worse than she is slap her in the face, and everybody hates it when Stephanie does that. It still drives me nuts to this day. And sure enough, Stephanie slapped the shit out of Ronda Rousey, and Rousey didn't really do anything. She just kind of got in her face or whatever. So all in all, it wasn't a horrible segment, but it definitely wasn't great, and it looks to me like they are setting up, obviously, with a mixed tag at WrestleMania, because Triple H, as predicted, was in the ring. He was out there with Stephanie, and then they also had Kurt Angle around, and based on what we saw on Monday Night Raw, it's starting to look like that mixed tag team match is starting to come together. So I'll talk about that here in a little bit as well when we talk about Raw. Now on to the main event of Elimination Chamber. Oh, was this one fun? Oh, shit. Well, it blew up the internet. Everybody was upset, including myself. But really, at the end of the day, that was predictable. I guess the year-long plan, what we've heard about for months and months and months and months now, that I was always holding out hope might change. The WWE usually doesn't make plans that far in advance. It looks like those plans are going to be followed through with, because Roman Reigns wound up winning the Elimination Chamber, defeating Braun Strowman at the end, just like I fucking knew he would. I said weeks ago that it's probably going to come down to Strowman and Roman, and Strowman will take the loss there. So this match was controversial because of the Roman Reigns victory, but as far as the match itself, judging the chamber match itself, I think it was as good as a modern-day 2018 version of the Elimination Chamber match can be. Much like the women, the men came through, and I thought the match was good, and Braun Strowman did look like a monster. And I have been pitching all along that, to me, if you're looking at this logically, it just makes the most business sense to give Strowman that match with Brock Lesnar. Even though you still have to do Roman and Brock, we still need to get that match. WWE wants to do it, I get that. But it seemed like everything was aligned for Strowman to be the guy here because of the year he had in 2017, what a role he has been on, how freakishly over the guy is, and how strong he is, and what a badass he is. And he has a clean loss to Brock Lesnar already, which would be nice to see him get back. And Roman is already a made man, and Strowman can also become a made man. It just seemed like it was a no-brainer to me, and that's why I haven't shut the hell up about it for weeks and weeks and weeks. But unfortunately, what I want isn't what WWE wants, and what all of you isn't what WWE wants either. They want Roman Reigns. So Braun Strowman actually kicked ass in this match. He eliminated 5 people. He eliminated everybody that there was to eliminate. And then at the very end, Roman caught him with the spear, a couple of them, I think, and got the pin. And I was so disappointed because Strowman is my guy. But really, when you look at it, WWE, since they insisted on having Roman Reigns win, they did make Braun Strowman look as strong as humanly possible without winning. I mean, aside from winning the match, that's about as strong as you can make someone look. Have him clean house, eliminate everybody, and then get beat in the end. And I think Braun Strowman, because he was built up to be so strong in that match, he might still be their backup plan. There still is some controversy surrounding Roman Reigns, all that steroid shit. So for some reason, the next few weeks, WWE feels like, oh shit, we can't put the belt on Roman. You still got Strowman there looking like a monster who could be inserted into that match, make it a triple threat or whatever. But it looks like it's going to be Roman and Brock Lesnar. And we'll talk a lot about Roman and Brock here in just a minute. But I will admit to everybody that hates Roman Reigns that I was not a fan of this outcome, only because, number one, it was extremely predictable. And number two, seeing Strowman on such a roll like that, I just don't like to see him get beat. Yeah, he eliminated 5 guys. Great. And that's why I think Strowman is going to wind up saving face here for the most part. It's not going to damage him too much. It's just the fact that he lost. You know, to me, everybody was pissed that Roman Reigns won. To me, it wasn't about Roman Reigns winning. To me, it was about Braun Strowman losing. I was much more upset about Strowman losing than I was about Roman winning. And plus, now this puts Roman Reigns into another predictable situation, like has been the case with the past 2 of his WrestleMania matches. You know he's going to go into WrestleMania to beat Brock. He has to beat Brock. And I even said on Sunday night when I was live streaming that if they're going to go with Roman and Brock, man, it's going to be a tall order to get that match really over, especially if it turns out Brock is going to be leaving and the fans get word of it. I worry about a repeat of Brock and Goldberg from WrestleMania 20. When they were both leaving and the fans shit on the match. Here you got a guy that the fans don't want to see be champion and a guy who's leaving. You know, the fans are going to dump all over it. So I think the WWE's hope here is that they can get Roman over, get him cheered in his match with Brock Lesnar when they don't need to do that. They could have put Strowman in that match and then it's a done deal. Strowman will get cheered over Brock. You know, why put yourself in this position of trying to have to write television to get Roman over the proper way and get him cheered when you can just take the guy that's already going to get cheered without any effort at all? It blows my mind. So I'm not against Roman Reigns being a top guy. I defend Roman Reigns. He is not nearly as bad as people make him out to be. But this is a case where I was really disappointed to see him win. I just didn't want to see him win this match and go on to Mania. And now you've put Roman Reigns in his 3rd consecutive extremely predictable WrestleMania main event match. We all knew he was beating Triple H. We all knew he was beating The Undertaker. And now we all know he's going to beat Brock Lesnar. So that's not doing Roman Reigns any favors either. So the build to this should be interesting and got off to a pretty good start on Monday night, which is a very good segue into Monday Night Raw. I'm not going to go in order here. I'm going to talk about some of the important things first. And since we're talking about Roman Reigns and his victory at the Elimination Chamber, why don't we talk about his promo on Monday Night Raw? Now, this was a good promo. I enjoyed it because Roman Reigns, he shot on Brock Lesnar. First of all, Brock Lesnar was not there and he was advertised to be. It was supposed to be a face-to-face with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. And Roman Reigns comes out to the ring, gets on the mic and says Brock Lesnar didn't show up. He says Brock Lesnar doesn't give a shit about the WWE, doesn't give a shit about the fans. Elimination Chamber was in Vegas on Sunday, and Brock Lesnar was also in Vegas, but instead of being at the Elimination Chamber, he was walking around the strip, meeting up with Dana White and taking selfies with him and shit like that. So it was a really good shoot-style promo by Roman Reigns. Called Brock Lesnar a bitch and that he doesn't respect him. And to me, I was like, great, this is what they should do. This beats a face-to-face confrontation like we got 3 years ago in 2015 where the two of them tugged on the belt. Remember that? And it became, an infamous meme online where people were putting Eggo waffles and teddy bears and all sorts of shit in place of the belt. And when the two guys had this really lame, stupid struggle with the belt, I was like, oh God, this is so bad. Luckily, Seth Rollins saved the day at WrestleMania 31 and saved us from an extremely predictable outcome. But this year it's going to be different. So I didn't want to see some lame confrontation between the two with Paul Heyman coming out there and talking for Brock and Roman saying a few words and it doesn't have any personal feel. Here, Roman Reigns has made it personal. And before anybody asks, yes, I know this was all a work. There's no doubt in my mind that this was all scripted. Brock not being there was probably done on purpose. I seriously doubt that Brock just no-showed the event. I don't think it was a situation like that. I think it was a situation where WWE wanted to add a little bit of realness to this storyline, and they scripted this promo for Roman Reigns. Now, as I'm watching this on Monday night doing the live stream, everybody online is still giving Roman Reigns shit for this. Oh, this is just such a stupid, dumb, lame, desperate attempt by WWE to get Roman Reigns cheered. We see right through what you're doing, WWE. You're trying to give Roman Reigns a shoot-style promo to get us to like him. Well, we still hate him. Which, to me, as much as I hated Roman Reigns winning the Elimination Chamber, makes absolutely no sense. What does everybody complain about when it comes to Roman Reigns on the mic? What does everybody say? His promos suck. They're fucking lame. He doesn't deliver them well. WWE writes garbage for him. Same criticisms came with John Cena for so many years. And a lot of fans, even the haters, would agree that John Cena can cut a good promo if he's given decent material, but his material is always just crap. And that's been the problem with Roman Reigns. So all of the Roman Reigns critics and haters out there are saying, WWE, you're giving him the stupidest fucking promos to recite out there. Here, WWE gives him a good one, and the fans are still pissed off. Now it's like, oh, they have ulterior motives. motives for cutting the promo. This is actually what we wanted out of Roman Reigns. If they're going to insist on shoving him down our throats, at least make his promos good. Don't make him suck a big bag of dicks like most of them do. This was actually a pretty good promo. Roman Reigns delivered it well. It was the most emotion I've ever seen out of him, and one of his better promos. So it just cracks me up that if this guy cuts a bad promo, he's shit on, and if he cuts a good promo, he's also shit on, because you absolutely cannot. Number one rule in the I Hate Roman Reigns handbook, you cannot say one single positive thing about the guy. If you do, you are a dick rider. That is the logic that we're dealing with here. So as you guys can tell, and you guys who watch my live streams and have listened to this episode right now, how many times have I said in this very episode that you're listening to right now 5 minutes ago that I was so upset, so disappointed, so pissed off that Roman Reigns won the Elimination Chamber? I am no happier about this than any of you. But I'm also not crazy enough to constantly shit on something that sometimes doesn't deserve to be shit on. If it was up to me, we'd be doing Strowman and Brock at WrestleMania hands down. But we've got Roman and Brock instead. We can't change that. So the best we can hope for is that this feud, this very predictable match and feud, is as good as it can possibly be. And I think deviating away from their plan in 2015 and not making it a carbon copy of that, much like they made that mistake with The Rock and John Cena at WrestleMania 29, not changing their match up at all, doing the exact same shit they did the year before, at least it looks like WWE's going to try to get some heat in this feud. It might fail. I'm not saying it's going to work. Next week, we might go right back to shitty, boring-ass Roman Reigns on the mic, and I don't know when Brock is due to show back up on TV. I think in a couple of weeks. But what I hope to happen here is that Roman Reigns cuts a couple of these promos that by the time Lesnar gets there and shows up on Raw one week in the build to Mania, you actually want to see this face-to-face confrontation in the ring. I think that's what WWE's trying to accomplish here. So I can understand the cynics out there. Trust me, I do. I understand that a lot of you are probably not too optimistic about this feud, but I think so far, this is about the best direction they could have gone in. What could they have really done with these two guys? And if you keep getting Roman Reigns to shoot on Brock Lesnar like this, what's going to wind up happening is when Brock comes back and Paul Heyman gets a chance to talk, you know he's going to say some controversial shit to Roman Reigns on the mic. They always get controversial around WrestleMania time and promos, and we've seen that. We saw that with The Rock and Cena, actually, when they were really kind of going hard on each other. And I think Paul Heyman, some of the things he can say about Roman Reigns, about his opportunities, about how the fans feel about him, about his position in WWE and all the controversy surrounding that, even the wellness policy violation that he had, I think all of that could potentially be brought up by Paul Heyman, which would make the build and the promos and the segments between the two leading up to Mania actually pretty good. So fingers crossed on that one. We'll move on now on Monday Night Raw to the Ronda Rousey segment. Now, this one was maybe a little bit better than what we saw at the Elimination Chamber, and it was a little bit confusing because it was all over the place. So you had Triple H and Stephanie in the ring cutting a promo about Ronda Rousey, and they're both kind of pissed off at Kurt Angle for what he did at the Elimination Chamber. So Stephanie calls him out to the ring, but instead of Kurt coming out, Ronda comes out, and she's power walking to the ring this time. And Kurt Angle is like really close behind her. He's running behind her down the aisleway there. So they all get in the ring. Stephanie references Kurt Angle's double pneumonia, and then he's completely out of his mind, and he didn't know what the hell he was saying at the Elimination Chamber. And Kurt Angle basically comes out there and tells Rousey that he made a big mistake. She should sign with WWE. It'll be the greatest decision she's ever made in her life. Basically retracting all of his statements from the previous night. Her promo was not really that much better than it was the night before, but she was a little bit more serious, and she threatened Stephanie at one point and said, you know, I will rip your arms out of your sockets if you don't come in here and apologize to me, which Stephanie immediately does, which was hilarious. Once Rousey said that, Stephanie gets this look on her face and just power walks right up to Ronda Rousey. You think she's going to nail her, but she immediately says, I am terribly sorry, and the crowd fucking laughed their ass off. I laughed too. That was actually pretty funny. So Stephanie winds up apologizing profusely to Ronda Rousey, and it looks like all is good. We're actually going to get out of this segment without any physicality. And Stephanie and Triple H are leaving, and Kurt Angle is in the ring, and he lets out this like deep breath, this big sigh. And as soon as he lets it out, Triple H turns around and punches Kurt Angle right in the face, knocks him right down. It's been one of the funniest pictures that's been floating around online. I even threw it up as my Facebook profile or banner picture or whatever the fuck. It was so funny, that look on Kurt Angle's face before he got nailed. And Triple H, I guess, nailed him, even though it seemed weird. I guess he nailed him because he's pissed about what Kurt Angle had said the night before. And what was with the limo? Did you guys notice that? Right before the segment, a limo pulled up backstage. The camera zoomed in on it, and I thought it was going to be potentially Ronda Rousey's partner at WrestleMania, like The Rock or something like that. I believe they were in Anaheim. That's not far from LA. I don't know where The Rock is or what he's doing, but I was kind of thinking maybe we're going to get The Rock in the final segment here. But all we got was Triple H punching Kurt Angle instead, and it looks like that's going to be the match. I guess we're going to get Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Stephanie and Triple H, unless this is a swerve, unless they're making us think this and they bring somebody in as a surprise at the last minute. Maybe a Rock. Do I dare say CM Punk? Of course not. We know it won't be him, but, right now it's looking like it's probably just going to be Angle and Rousey versus Stephanie and Triple H, which isn't horrible, but I think I would much prefer The Rock, because The Rock was the one that was involved in that segment at WrestleMania 31, which they did reference a couple of times, and it seems like The Rock would make the much better partner, and a partner that would make much more sense with Ronda Rousey instead of Kurt Angle. But maybe The Rock is going to be unavailable, so Kurt Angle is their backup plan. Why don't we talk about John Cena next? He, of course, fell short in the Elimination Chamber, and he was very dejected about that. They did the Raw talk after the Elimination Chamber on the WWE Network, and he was very down on himself, felt sorry for himself, very dejected and somber tone to his voice. And he came out on Monday Night Raw to talk about this and cut a promo. And he talked about his recent failures and goes on and on about how he's been losing a lot of matches lately. And then, as he teased on Raw Talk that he had an idea, or that he will figure it out as far as his road to WrestleMania goes, he goes on to challenge The Undertaker. Right there in the middle of the ring, crowd pops hard. They all start chanting, yes, yes, yes. I'm freaking out because I'm live reacting to this on Monday. And I'm like, God damn it, I really just did not want to see that match. But it looked like the fans were into it, because that got a hell of a reaction from them. And then right after, John Cena says, well, that match is not going to happen. And I was like, wow. He had me fooled for a second there. I was really bummed out that we were going to see The Undertaker wrestle again, and then he swerves us. It reminded me of when Shawn Michaels was going to bring out Bret Hart, like in Montreal in 2005. Remember that? I think that was during his build to Hogan. And the crowd just lost their shit, and it was all a joke or whatever. So John Cena kind of trolled us on that one. He then goes on to say that that match is not happening because that match is impossible. So I don't know if this is just a little tease and this match is still going to happen. I think WWE probably knows if Undertaker is going to wrestle or not. And Undertaker, a guy of his age and his physical condition, you can't just decide a month before Mania, oh yeah, I'm good to go. Undertaker's going to require months of training and preparation, I would think, if he's going to have a big-time WrestleMania match. So whether or not The Undertaker is wrestling again, I think the decision has been made. I just don't think the fans know what that decision is yet. So a lot of our instincts, based on what we saw Cena say, is that this match is still going to happen. They're just going to drag it out. And Cena goes on to say after that he's going to be heading over to SmackDown to try to figure out a way to earn a spot to WrestleMania, which made me think that that's the perfect place for the Undertaker and John Cena build to happen. SmackDown needs some fucking help. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I mean, the show is a pile of ass. So Raw's got enough going on. You got enough star power on Raw. You put those guys on SmackDown and have their build to WrestleMania over there, since Undertaker was primarily a SmackDown guy there for many years. And I think it would be perfect for him to be on that show, hyping and building his match with John Cena on that brand. But now it's starting to look like maybe Undertaker really isn't going to be at WrestleMania after all. I hope not. I don't know what's going on here. We're probably going to find out very soon what's going on with The Undertaker. Right now, there's speculation that John Cena mentioning him was just the first tease of this, and we're still going to wind up getting this match, and we'll get it in a couple of weeks officially announced. And some people say that this match truly isn't going to happen, and maybe that was WWE and John Cena's way of addressing it, since we've heard the rumors for at least 6, 7, I don't know, maybe even 8 months now that The Undertaker might be wrestling again at Mania to face John Cena. Maybe this was a way for them to put those rumors to bed and move John Cena on to another opponent, which there's a really interesting story out there online that's been reported by a couple of places. Don't know the validity of it at all. Don't know if this is even close to happening, but Rey Mysterio's name has been tossed around, and that he's been negotiating with WWE to potentially come in and have a WrestleMania match versus John Cena. And to me, I'm like, that makes no sense whatsoever, but I'll take anything over The Undertaker versus John Cena. But that's quite the difference there. You're going from Undertaker versus John Cena to Mysterio Mysterio versus John Cena. I know Mysterio is a legend. He hasn't been in WWE for a while. He had a great return at the Royal Rumble. He looked like $1 million, but still, he's not Undertaker level. So that's a very odd match for John Cena to have. Those two guys have never really faced on the big stage, I don't think. They both walked out of WrestleMania 22 as world champion. They had that match back in 2011 after the pipe bomb when they crowned a new champion, and then CM Punk returned with the belt and he had the stare down with Cena. That's the only big match that I can remember that Mysterio and Cena were in. So I'm certainly not going to complain about that in-ring match. I think that can be fun, and a little guy like that for, for Cena to work with, he proves how good he can work with guys like AJ and Seth Rollins and others. I think the match would actually be pretty good. But as far as WrestleMania worthy or WrestleMania stage, Mysterio's been out of the company for so long and he's coming in, he's going to work with Cena. That's kind of out of nowhere. It's kind of out of left field, and I'm not sure how much I really believe that. But hey, if it winds up happening, I'm not going to complain, because when it comes to The Undertaker, the only thing that I really care about is that he does not wrestle again. I don't want to see him in there, and I guess we'll find out very soon. We'll find out in the next couple of weeks if that match is actually going to take place or not. But right now it's looking like it might not, and I'm totally fine with that. And we'll talk more about Cena here in just a minute when I discuss SmackDown. I'm briefly just going to run through the rest of Raw because there wasn't a whole lot going on. I did mention Braun Strowman and his disappointing loss at the Elimination Chamber earlier on. He did defeat Elias via DQ. They had a one-on-one match. Elias was out there singing a song. Elias is so over with the audience. Recently read that his T-shirts are among the top sellers, even a better seller than the Rusev Day shirt, which is great for him. That's probably just going to lead to more TV time and more exposure for Elias, and I'm a big Elias fan. Great. He had a match with Braun Strowman. He didn't get beat by Strowman. He hit him with the fire extinguisher to the face and got DQ'd, and Strowman is still a very angry man because of what happened to him at the Elimination Chamber, and I guess they're just killing time now here with Strowman until they decide what exactly is going to happen. If they're just holding him off a couple of more weeks to see if they need to throw him into the title picture at WrestleMania, maybe that's why they kept him so strong in the chamber. But if not, who's he going to work with? And right now, Elias, I don't know if I want to see Strowman versus Elias at WrestleMania. I mean, Strowman versus Elias, it's already a feud that's been going on for a little bit here. Elias is no match for Braun Strowman. Strowman beat him in the Elimination Chamber, and he's beat the hell out of him a few weeks on Raw, and you still have another 6 weeks before we get to WrestleMania. That's a lot of build. But aside from Elias, who do you really put Braun Strowman in the ring with? Do you bring Kane back? We don't want to see that. The last thing we want to see at WrestleMania is Braun Strowman versus Kane. I'd rather get a hand job from Killian Dane than see that match. So it's just not something that I'm even close to interested in. But I want to see Braun Strowman, who's my guy, do something significant at WrestleMania. And aside from winning the Andre the Giant Battle Royal or beating Elias in a random one-on-one match, I don't know what they're really going to do with him, and it's kind of sad. The Miz was also very busy on Monday Night Raw. He came out there to cut a promo with the Miz-Tourage, cut a very, very good promo, like he always does. Talks about how the company doesn't respect him, and says that Kurt Angle won't even tell him who his opponent is at WrestleMania. But he's putting him in a match tonight where he also doesn't know who the opponent is, and that might determine who he faces at Mania. And Miz is really pissed off. He feels like he's being jerked around by Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle says it might determine your opponent. So basically, Miz is demanding to know who he's going to face at WrestleMania, but Kurt Angle doesn't know yet. And the Miz is then challenged by Seth Rollins. Seth comes out to the ring, has a pretty decent little match with the Miz, and winds up beating him. And the finish of that match was incredible. The Miz was literally on the other side of the ring. He was about 4 feet from the opposite corner, and Seth Rollins frog splashes him from the other side of the ring. Fucking incredible. And Seth is on a roll, man. He's been impressing the shit out of me in recent weeks. I just fucking love him. Move his ass to SmackDown, turn him heel, put the fucking belt on him. I mean, you give me a Nakamura versus Seth match, oh man, pass the lotion. But after Seth winds up beating The Miz, he's leaving, and he's then interrupted by Finn Balor. Finn Balor kind of comes out there and steals his thunder. Seth looks irritated, looks annoyed at Finn, and Balor is then set to face The Miz. So Kurt Angle has booked The Miz in back-to-back matches here, and the Miz-Tourage winds up attacking Finn Balor. The match is thrown out, or it's a DQ or whatever, and Kurt Angle comes out and says, no way, this isn't going to happen that way. We're going to have a winner, restart the match. I'm banning everybody from ringside, because Gallows and Anderson also came out there to make the save when Balor was getting beat down by the Miz-Tourage. So Kurt Angle bans everybody and forces Miz to face Finn Balor in a second match, and Miz puts up a pretty decent fight, winds up losing, gets beat by Balor Balor as well, hit him with the coup de grace, got the pin. But Miz, despite having the match before, put up a pretty good fight against Finn Balor. So Miz, I guess you would say in the loss, still, quote, looked strong. And I'm guessing here with the Intercontinental title, I don't know if this is going to come down to a one-on-one match or not. It looks like Miz is upset at Kurt Angle, and he's bitching at him about being jerked around. So you can almost feel like this is going to be a multi-man situation here. That's kind of the story they're going with here. Miz is pissed off at the general manager, so the general manager is going to give it right back to him and wind up booking the Miz in a match where he's at a huge disadvantage, most likely a multi-man match. And a lot of people have thrown out the ladder match idea because we have seen ladder matches for IC titles at WrestleMania before. We didn't get one last year. Last year, the tag titles had the ladder match, so they might be doing it with The Miz, and it seems very likely. So we're probably going to get maybe The Miz and Seth Rollins and Finn Balor, maybe Elias, maybe Braun Strowman. Some people have pitched the idea of Strowman versus The Miz. Now, I really don't want to see that match either. I have no problem with Strowman winning the Intercontinental title, but Strowman, to me, he is main event or nothing. And if he is going to go in there and face The Miz, who in their right mind would believe that The Miz has a chance to beat Braun Strowman? That match might even be more predictable than Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. So putting The Miz in there with Strowman, I'm not a big fan of that, even though a title belt might be on the line. But you could maybe put Strowman in the ladder match, and he could do some crazy shit in there. And if he wound up winning the Intercontinental title in a ladder match, it could be pretty funny to watch Strowman climb up there. So it's looking like that's the direction they're going now, and The Miz is going to have multiple opponents at WrestleMania. Other than that, the only other matches we saw on Raw, we saw The Bar defeat Titus Worldwide again, this time in a 2 out of 3 falls match, and Sheamus and Cesaro won the first 2 falls. So Titus and Apollo are no more. So if you ask me, they should just drop Titus O'Neil's name too and just make him Titus. And that whole match would have been a whole bunch of one-name motherfuckers. But there's also a story, I don't know how valid this is either, of Terry Crews having a problem with Apollo Crews' last name. So I don't know if it's Terry Crews or if it's the school shooting in Florida or if it's WWE just having the urge to drop somebody's last name again. I don't know what the story is there with Apollo dropping the last name of Crews, but the story about Terry Crews pitching a fit about that cracked me up because Apollo's been in WWE for like 3 years. What the hell does Terry Crews care? I actually like Terry Crews. I've met Terry Crews a couple of times. He's come into my restaurant. Very cool dude. And I love the movie Idiocracy. And he, of course, was the president in that movie. And, you know the guy I'm talking about. He looks a lot like Apollo Crews, too. He does the Old Spice commercials and all that shit. So, funny guy. But apparently, he might have a problem with Crews's last name there. I don't know the story. You guys can be the researchers on that. I don't know what the hell's going on there. And honestly, I don't care. And I don't think I even talked about the beginning of the show. The opening of Monday Night Raw was a promo with Alexa Bliss. She came out there with Mickie James, who seems like overnight has just turned heel. She's out there standing right with Alexa as she's cutting the promo and doing a great job on the mic. Alexa's great. Asuka then comes out to get in her face, but Alexa's not too scared because she has backup. Nia Jax starts coming out. She starts fighting with Asuka, and then Bayley and Sasha come out there to make the save, and you've got 6 ladies fighting in the ring, and we were like, oh shit, it's going to be a tag match, and it goes to commercial in the middle of the brawl. So during the commercial on the live stream, I'm like, all right, we're going to come back and we're going to have a backstage segment where Kurt Angle's going to make a 6-man match, and then we're going to get that later on. But instead, they don't even bother doing that. They come back from commercial, and Michael Cole just says, General Manager Kurt Angle booked this 6 ladies tag or whatever. So we kicked off Raw with a 6-woman tag. The babyfaces did win that. Asuka, Bayley, and Sasha beat Nia Jax, Mickie James, and Alexa Bliss. And Sasha and Bayley had some more dissension there. I'm surprised they were even on the same team based on the fact that Sasha kind of turned on Bayley in the Elimination Chamber, kicking her off the top of one of the pods. So this time, Bayley gets a little bit of revenge. Sasha is getting her ass kicked in the ring. She goes for the tag, and Bayley jumps off the apron. It was like, Somehow her team still managed to win that when Asuka tapped out Mickie James, and it looks like we're going to get a WrestleMania match here, which is good, really. I mean, I know it's a match that we've seen all the time, but they've been building this issue with Sasha and Bayley for a long time. And I would like to see them get fun here and get cute, and maybe they can do a swerve. It looks like Sasha is the instigator here. It looks like Sasha is going to be the one to go heel, but I would love them to swerve us and have Bayley go heel. Just add a little bit of something new to this match and this little rivalry between the two, because we have seen them wrestle a lot one-on-one. Even as BFFs, they would have to have number 1 contender matches against each other and shit all the time. So this is not a new match. So it needs something to make it feel new if it's going to be on a WrestleMania type of stage. So I think they need to do something fun like that where they finally implode and one of them's the clear heel and one of them's the clear babyface, and I would like to see them maybe go in the opposite direction and swerve us a little bit. But I do like the fact that they are doing a one-on-one match because it gives the women more matches, because normally, you know, it's just like the women's title matches and then one big multi-woman match. So maybe if we get the SmackDown title, the Raw title, and then one other one-on-one women's match, and then put the rest of the ladies in some sort of a big match, and I'm wondering if they're going to do a battle royal. I've still mentioned that a couple of times. Wouldn't be surprised, since they've done every other match the men have done, and this is WrestleMania time, and the battle royal is now a yearly annual part of this pay-per-view. Wouldn't surprise me at all if they did it for the women, and it would be a good way to get all of the women involved if they did a women's Andre the Giant Battle Royal, or maybe a Ninth Wonder of the World China Memorial Battle Royal if they wanted to get nuts. But it looks like the women will have a pretty decent presence on WrestleMania, which is good. And of course, don't forget about Ronda Rousey and the match that she will be involved in. Why don't we move on to SmackDown Live now? SmackDown Live has been very controversial in recent weeks. A lot of fans are getting fed up with the show. It's not been very good. Road Dogg, I believe, he got a promotion, or he's been head writer of SmackDown, I think, since the beginning of the year, maybe even longer. Don't really remember when that happened, but it is not off to a good start. These shows have been very boring. I've barely paid attention to them. The only way I've watched SmackDown in the past couple of weeks is because I'm usually working on Tuesday nights, is that I pull up two computer monitors, one with the results of the show and the other with WWE's YouTube page. And I read the results and then I watch the clip of the match, and that's basically how I watch SmackDown, and I can get it done in 15 fucking minutes. But these shows are so repetitive, even more so than Monday Night Raw. It's the same people working the same matches, cutting the same promos every week. At least on SmackDown, we've got a great world champion. I mean, we've got the best wrestler, arguably, in the world holding the WWE title on that brand. But the rest of the show is a pile of shit. I mean, it's really bad. And Road Dogg is catching a ton of heat for this online. There are Fire Road Dogg campaigns going on out there on Twitter and on YouTube and all of that. And I'm not going to take it that far. I mean, Road Dogg, yes, if he is the head writer, yes, he has a lot of responsibility. Yes, a lot of this does fall on his shoulders. But still, at the end of the day, there is one guy in charge. It's Vince McMahon. And if Vince is allowing these shows to be produced and make air, then he's got to be approving this shit. So, I mean, if it's up to me, fire Vince. Fuck the Road Dogg. Fire Vince. And plus, I think firing Road Dogg is a little bit extreme there. I think the fans can be incredibly heartless sometimes. There's no real reason to hate Brian James. Why would you hate on this guy? He's had a tumultuous life. He's had his demons. He's had his share of problems. You know, there was a time where he was addicted to drugs, on bad terms with WWE, and his life was going downhill. And here he is. He's cleaned himself up. He's motivated. He's got a good position in WWE. He was there as an agent and working backstage now for a few years. He's made amends with Triple H to the point where now he's one of Triple H's right-hand men, and he's got a good position in the company. They've given him a promotion. So far, it has not worked out. And you want to fire him? You know, you want to throw him out on the street because of this? Maybe change your hashtag from fire Road Dogg to demote Road Dogg. I mean, come on, have a heart here. You know, I mean, this guy finally got his life together, and now he's just suffering through all this hate from the fans, and I get it. I'm not saying SmackDown doesn't suck. I'm not saying that. It does. I've had a tough time watching this show, and it's clearly become the B show. We've even seen WWE already, just a year and a half or so after the brand extension. They are now recombining the pay-per-views, which is going to wind up hurting a lot of talent with them putting the shows back together because they don't feel like SmackDown Live is strong enough because they haven't cared enough to make it strong enough. They got all this talent on Raw that's floundering, doing nothing with Finn Balor, doing nothing with Seth Rollins, doing nothing with a lot of guys over there. You can move them to SmackDown and they would instantly be in the main event picture. That show would be better with a little bit more star power over there, but they don't have a whole lot going on. I mean, hell, not even John Cena is there. He's on both shows. So I think if WWE wanted to make SmackDown better, they could. We are getting close to WrestleMania. Usually after WrestleMania, they do shuffle around the rosters a little bit, so I do see some guys going over to SmackDown. But it looks like WWE has already given up on trying to make SmackDown an equal show. It's clearly the B show, doesn't have nearly as much talent, and all of the big angles and the major stuff that goes on in the company all takes place on Monday Night Raw. I think WWE needs to start making SmackDown a bigger priority. We saw that with 205 Live. It's slowly getting better. SmackDown Live is in a rut here, and maybe changes need to be made. Not only with the talent, but how you're writing the television or whatever. So I'm all for maybe removing Road Dogg from this position. I just think firing him is a little harsh, that's all. And I still think a lot of the blame lies on the powers that be in the WWE. It's just like in restaurants. You know, I've been in restaurants my whole life. You know, if the owner comes in and he sees the chef put up a plate of food in the window that looks like shit, he's going to say, "Are you kidding me? I can't serve that to customers. Take that back and fix it." But nobody's doing that in WWE. Nobody's looking at the shitty food that the chef is putting out and saying, "Let's change this up." But they're not doing it for some reason on SmackDown. They're just allowing these same old repetitive shows to take place week after week to the point where it's frustrating the fans. So I'm in agreement with everybody about SmackDown. I agree 1,000,000% with you that the show sucks. It just never ceases to amaze me, the outright ruthlessness of wrestling fans. I mean, how little they care about a human life. They don't give a shit. There's people that want Roman Reigns dead. You know that? Because he cuts bad promos, he should die. Roman Reigns should get cancer and die. Those are the type of comments that I see sometimes in my videos. And that's the maturity level that we're dealing with here with the wrestling audience in a lot of cases, is that they're so fucking crazy. And they're mean as shit, and they're mean-spirited. You know, fire Road Dogg, kill Roman Reigns. Give me a break. It's fucking wrestling, guys. Get over yourselves. But as far as what we saw on this delightful SmackDown, it looked like the injection of Cena on the show didn't really help it. It opened up with a Cena promo, and Shane McMahon is out there with him. And after some back and forth with Shane and Cena, Daniel Bryan winds up coming out and says if John Cena wants an opportunity to be at WrestleMania, he's going to give him a big opportunity. And he's going to have a match tonight on SmackDown. If he wins that match, he will be inserted into the main event of Fastlane, and the 5-way for the title will now be a 6-pack challenge. So we called that out. A lot of us figured that out right when they said that Cena was going to be appearing on SmackDown. A lot of us said, well, shit, the main event's already a 5-way. Why not make it a 6-way? So on the Raw pay-per-view, Cena's involved in a 7-man match. On the SmackDown one, he's involved in a 6-man match. And he had to have a match on SmackDown to get that opportunity, and that match was with none other than AJ Styles, WWE champion. And even Shane McMahon seemed to agree with the decision. The fans were chanting yes, and I would never really complain about a John Cena versus AJ Styles match because I think the two work well together, but why? Why do it? What is with the fucking obsession of beating your champions? You know, they do this shit all the time. And you know they're going to put John Cena in the main event of Fastlane, which means he's going to have to beat AJ. And why do that? Why beat AJ? Have Cena wrestle Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens doesn't want anybody else in this match either. Kevin Owens should have a really good reason to stop John Cena from getting that opportunity. Put Cena in the ring with Kevin Owens and have him beat Owens. Don't have him beat your champion. So I didn't really like that. It was the main event. It was a decent match. Cena won with the AA. He countered the calf crusher, kind of rolled through it and lifted AJ up because Cena's ridiculously strong, hit him with the AA and pinned him. I think AJ is one of the only bright spots on that show, and I did not want to see him get beat like that. And I hope that the 6-pack challenge at Fastlane, I hope it ends with AJ catching Cena with a phenomenal forearm and pinning him for the victory and retaining the title. If they're going to have Cena beat him on SmackDown, you got to have AJ beat Cena at the pay-per-view because he seemingly is going into WrestleMania to defend the title. So you got to keep him strong, right? Don't make him look weak, especially if he's going to be taking on Nakamura. So AJ, despite the loss on SmackDown, he better come out of that match at Fastlane with the title, and I'm pretty confident that he will. I don't think WWE is going to have him lose here and then have him lose in 2 more weeks at Fastlane. I think the plan is to go with Nakamura and AJ. They did tease John Cena and Nakamura, which made me a tiny bit nervous, but I think that's all it was just a tease. Nakamura had a match with Aiden English on SmackDown and beat him, and as he's leaving the ring, John Cena comes out for his match, and the two of them have a little stare down, and they point at the WrestleMania sign together. So I guess that's kind of your tease that John Cena could win the title at Fastlane and go on to defend it against Nakamura at WrestleMania, but that would suck. Could you imagine that? John Cena and Roman Reigns both in title matches at WrestleMania? Hell no. So I think, if I had to guess, that AJ versus Nakamura is WWE's answer to the predictable bullshit that we're probably going to get with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, and that is a match that they do not need to scrap. You got to give the fans that. The fans need that Wrestle Kingdom quality type of a match at WrestleMania to even make this pay-per-view bearable, and if they deviate from that plan, I think that's going to be a huge mistake. So I think that was only a tease between Nakamura and Cena. I think whatever they wind up doing at Fastlane, that AJ needs to come out of this match with the title. And I think it would be really cool if he beat John Cena. And then John Cena can continue that narrative of cutting promos saying, oh, I don't know what my road to WrestleMania is. I keep failing. One match after another, I'm getting pinned. I need an opponent for WrestleMania. And then they either build towards The Undertaker, or maybe John Cena at some point is in the ring saying, nobody's left. All of the big roster members all have matches at WrestleMania. Everybody's booked. There's nobody left for me to face. I guess I'm off the card. And then the Booyakah music hits or whatever, and Rey Mysterio comes out and says, hey, I'm here. I'll be happy to face you at WrestleMania. And that's how you set up the match. That's the only way I can think of them getting to Cena and Mysterio. Otherwise, the match just seems completely thrown together. It should also be noted, too, at the end of the Cena and AJ match, we had Owens and Zayn coming out. They're pissed off. They start attacking Cena, and then Dolph Ziggler comes out to make the save. Baron Corbin, I think, is out there. They're all brawling, and then the babyfaces Cena and AJ and Ziggler run everybody off. And then as the show's going off the air, Ziggler's attacking AJ, and then Cena's hitting Ziggler with the AA, and that was the end of the show. So kind of an awkward, weird ending there too. The rest of the show was not that important. Nothing much to talk about. Really good promo though, I do have to say, between the Usos and the New Day. And the Usos, I think, are amazing on the mic. I have absolutely loved their transformation after ditching the babyface gear and the gimmick and kind of becoming a little bit more hardcore, I guess you would say. And their promos have been really good. And I just love them as a team. I love their look. I love their attitude. I love their tone on the microphone. And I'm just a huge fan. And the New Day are always so goofy, and they always entertain the shit out of us, and I love the big plate of pancakes and all of that. But not only did the Usos cut a really good promo here, so did Big E. Big E cut a promo on SmackDown to the point where I think that was maybe a test by the WWE to start moving him along. New Day has been together a long time. They were the hosts of last year's WrestleMania, and even last year, we started speculating on a potential split with the New Day and potentially Big E going into singles. And I think the guy has really blossomed in the New Day. He is fucking hilarious. He's got a great look, he's entertaining, he's charismatic, and he's really good on the mic, and the promo that he cut on SmackDown was a little bit more serious, and he was really getting in the Usos' face, and I think that was a nice change, for Big E and for the New Day to see him get really serious like that, and I have a feeling that that's the beginning. That's the very beginning initial tease of the New Day disbanding and Big E moving on to a singles push. Put him right to the top of the card. Why not? Bobby Lashley's going to need an opponent, right? Or some other big guy like that. I think Big E can be great on his own. And, help him develop his character more and put him on the mic and give him opportunities to speak and just be his old Big E self, I think can be a lot of fun. So I think in the future, we might see Big E break away finally from the New Day, and that could be happening this year, maybe even by this summer. We'll have to wait and see. But I definitely got the feeling it was the beginning of something bigger for him. Right in the middle of the promo, by the way, right before these two teams are about to come to blows, because they will be facing at Fastlane for the titles, the Bludgeon Brothers come out. Now, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that the Bludgeon Brothers, the presentation, the package, the investment in this gimmick and what they've been doing on TV for the past few weeks since they came in, it looks like they're building them for the titles. There's really nothing else you can do with the Bludgeon Brothers. Much like Braun Strowman, they are champions or nothing. And if the Bludgeon Brothers don't wind up winning the belts or they start losing, it's only a matter of time before they are going to turn into the Ascension, because the gimmick is so fucking goofy that if the fans aren't buying it, it's going to become a comedy routine, and I don't want to see that happen for those guys. So they came out to kind of confront both teams, and both teams kind of walked away, and that was it. So there was no physicality there, but they are teasing that the Bludgeon Brothers are going to be a force here very soon, and I think they should take on the winner of the Usos and New Day at Fastlane at WrestleMania in a one-on-one tag match. So the Bludgeon Brothers need to be that one team that the Usos run into that they can't defeat. Finally, somebody comes along that shuts them up and takes the belts from them. So I'm kind of hoping they go in that direction. That pretty much wraps it up for SmackDown, doesn't it? Oh, I'm sorry. No, it doesn't. We did have Baron Corbin defeating Sami Zayn when Dolph Ziggler, in a really funny spot, kicks Kevin Owens right in the back of the head when Kevin Owens is doing commentary. The camera is zoomed right in on Owens, and Ziggler damn near super kicks his head off. It was funny. Even the way Kevin Owens sold it, just fell right over face first in the chair, cracked me up, and that was enough to distract Sami Zayn to where Baron Corbin hit him with the End of Days and got the pin there. And we also saw Ruby Riott defeating Naomi in a one-on-one match. Nothing special there. And I think that was it for the matches. So that pretty much wraps up your SmackDown Live. Like I said, not a whole lot to talk about. So I really hope SmackDown starts improving, and after Fastlane and we get into WrestleMania, these shows cannot suck. They need to be good. For the sake of the WWE title, for the sake of, hopefully, AJ versus Nakamura at WrestleMania, these SmackDown shows need to do well. Otherwise, it could be a big fucking disaster for them. But before I get out of here, I do want to mention as well 205 Live, because I have been paying attention to the Cruiserweight tournament a lot more than I've been paying attention to the Mixed Match Challenge tournament, and I apologize to you guys for sitting this one out. I've had very little interest in it. I've peeked at it a time or two on Facebook, seen a couple of matches, couple of clips, but for the most part, I'm not following it. However, the Cruiserweight tournament, I am. And we had two more matches on 205 Live this week. We had my pick to win the whole thing, Cedric Alexander defeating TJP. He moves on, I think, now to the third round. And we had Roderick Strong defeating Kalisto. I think that was the main event in a pretty good match. And Roderick Strong, if there's anybody in that bracket, when I look at it, that could maybe win other than Cedric, I might have to go with Roderick, because I do like him, and it was a good match with Kalisto, but the two matches on 205 Live were pretty solid, and they've done a really good job of bouncing back after the Enzo debacle, and apparently Triple H now playing a bigger role in that show and taking it over. And the changes, we've seen it. Drake Maverick so far is getting positive reviews. A lot of people like Rockstar Spud in this new gimmick and him being the GM, and he's got a good thing going there, and he's a lot better than I was expecting him to be. So overall, I'm still enjoying 205 Live. It's treating us to very good wrestling every week, and we have this tournament going on now that's going to crown a new champion at WrestleMania. My only request to WWE is, do not put this match, the finals of this tournament, on the kickoff show. I have a really big feeling that that's what they're going to do. I mean, hell, if they put Austin Aries and Neville on the kickoff show, they're definitely going to put Cedric Alexander and whoever the fuck on the kickoff show. But I kind of hope they don't. If they want to make this belt mean something, they've had so many hiccups with it. And now, with two guys losing the belt, with Neville taking off and then Enzo, all the problems that happened with him and him forfeiting the title, they got to do something to where the Cruiserweight title becomes important again. And I think having the finals to this tournament on the WrestleMania main card would be the best thing for that brand and that belt. They could even open with it. I think it would be a great opening match to have, the finals of that tournament kick off WrestleMania, because you would at least get a very entertaining match. I think the two participants would be nervous as shit opening up WrestleMania in that spot, and hopefully it wouldn't be a botch fest, but I think the title needs to be on the main card. That's what I'm hoping for there. So that's going to pretty much wrap it up for me for this week. I haven't seen too many crazy behind-the-scenes wrestling news stories to really get into, so nothing to really touch on there. No new Hall of Fame announcement yet. This past week on Raw, they announced the Warrior Award this year that's given to a young fella. I want to say his name is Jarius. I forget what his name is. Very touching story there. Really funny little kid there, too. So they gave us that this week, but I guess next week we'll get back to the normal inductees, and we will get our next name announced. And hopefully it will be a Bam Bam Bigelow or a British Bulldog or a Brian Pillman or somebody like that, somebody that we are desperate to see go into the WWE Hall of Fame. I'm hoping to see that this coming week on Monday Night Raw. As far as this Monday goes, I'm not 100% sure of my schedule yet. If I am off, I will be up here live reacting to Raw. It's been a lot of fun every week that I've been here to do that. So if I am home on Monday night, which I do expect to be, it's just not 100% guaranteed, look for me to come up on Raw. And don't forget, follow me at GoodMicWork on Twitter, and I will be announcing officially if I am going to be coming up on Monday, and I'll provide you guys with a link and all of that. So I will talk to you guys in just a couple of days. You guys have a great rest of your week and weekend, and I'll talk to you real soon. Until next time, peace.
This has been a Good Mike Work Commentaries production. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/GoodMicWork. Follow Greg Morgan on Twitter at GoodMicWork and visit GoodMicWorkCommentaries.com for all the latest podcast and video content.